well, with that taken care of, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the Rules Committee of the Representative Town Meeting of the Town of Darien. And first item on the agenda is just to talk about the vehicle donation to At Home in Darien from the Darien Foundation. Jack?
The town was notified in short notice that the Darien Foundation is going to make a donation to the to At Home at Darien. It would require approval of both the Board of Selectmen and the RTM. Typically, we're out of business for November and December. Possibly we could push it in, but in order for this to be purchased and operational, I worked out that we could move it along. So Kate's bringing it to the Board of Selectmen today. Mac and I are having a joint meeting of PHS and F&B on Wednesday, at which time I'm anticipating that both committees will approve the donation. Seth passed on, I got in touch with Gina, who's the executive director, who provided some additional information, which Seth passed on earlier this evening. Wayne is working on how we will do it on the 8th, because while the two committees can vote on it, those committees are not in effect come November 8th until the organization meetings are put together for the committees. However, we could, as individuals, report on what the prior legislative year's committee decided. And that's what we would propose, where Seth being the, assuming the moderator, sorry, I don't want to get ahead of myself, with the moderator can move the motion. It can be seconded by anyone. There can be comments made by the public, or potentially what I'm going to see if Seth can at least read the reports from the prior legislative year. I still think this is what I would typically call voting for puppies and kittens. In other words, there's really not much reason why one would reject this gift from the Darien Foundation to At Home. And so hopefully we can complete this transaction and acceptance of the gift on the 8th, and they can go out and get the vehicle. I don't want to delay anything, because as we saw with the trucks for the Board of Ed, vehicles are not being produced quite readily because of the chip shortage and other issues with steel and other things like that. So I want to make sure that they have their new vehicle and it's operational. So that's what we're trying to expedite.
One interesting thing that happened today to me was I got a email from Rudy's Limousine apologizing for the fact that their entire fleet will not be able to be Cadillacs because they can't get them, and so they're substituting other vehicles. You know, wow. It's a difficult time. So I think moving ahead with this is a smart thing to do. What I might do, if a re-elected moderator, what I might do is ask to be able to recognize the reports of the old committee. Just say, listen, without objection, we'll go ahead and allow the old committees to report, and that will provide a basis for you to make your decision. I think coming from the committees that sat together and debated and you know, examined the question, that's probably a pretty good way. And I think, yeah, if the RTM said, no, we don't want to do it that way, fine, then I could read the reports.
So can I also add?
Yeah.
This is Frank.
Yeah, Frank.
Taking a look at the town code, our friendly Appendix B of the town code that determines how we should run meetings. I don't see anything in my quick review that says committees have to promote a report. It's a custom, it's a convention, it's a courtesy, it's what we do. But the town, as far as I can see, the town code doesn't call for committee reports as part of the structure. So as Jack outlined, interested parties can certainly make their presentations and give their views, but we shouldn't get hung up on this. Let's move forward.
Yes, Frank, in fact, I said the same thing to Wayne, and Wayne's looking to confirm that. I agree with what you said. I just think we can give our opinions on it, move forward, and vote on it. I did want to say that, in my opinion, and if you need a motion, I'll make the motion, that public health and safety should be primary on this, because it is at home in Darien, and F&B would be secondary.
Okay, we'll take a motion on that. Go ahead. And then, is there a second?
I'll second that, Seth.
All
Who was
right. Are
that?
there any debates or thought about it?
I think
Pardon
it was
me?
Michael.
Who seconded it? Michael?
It was Patty.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Okay. Any questions for the debate? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote then. Are there any no votes? I don't see any, so the vote is unanimous. Motion carries. Next, we'll go into the RTM meeting and on November 8th. And at this meeting, we do have some things that we have to do. We have to elect a moderator, do have to vote in some folks for the ethics committee, the Board of Ethics. And then later on, the districts get together separately and vote in their chairs and vice chairs and members of the Rules Committee. So there's business done at that. To be honest with you, I would have loved to have us all together for that face to face, but I don't sense a lot of support for that. Maybe it's too early. I think with 97% of the town vaccinated, and the only thing that you would have to wear is that you'd have to wear a mask if you did it. And but there's no spacing requirements. We could meet as we normally did. It's just that everybody would have to wear a mask. But there is, I think, a significant number of members that don't feel comfortable yet meeting together. Risk from COVID being what it is, even if you're vaccinated, I guess you can transmit. So I asked Lois to see if the technology committee then could come up with a way that we can meet virtually. We did last year. And so what I will do is recognize Lois to talk about that as the way that we would go. We'll go ahead and go virtually unless somebody wants to make a motion otherwise. I just say we'll go virtually, and Lois, yes, Teresa. Unmute yourself.
Is there a way
There
to
we
do a hybrid meeting?
Hello.
Hi.
Technological mess. That's the best way I can describe it. We don't really have the technology to do that right.
I was gonna say, then is there a way to, because I don't think wearing a mask should be, I mean, I would happily meet in person if we're all masked. I mean, do we have an idea of how many people are uncomfortable meeting in person?
No, but there's not a lot of support for doing it yet.
Okay.
And so, no, I didn't go out and do a whole poll or something, but it just, with my ear to the ground, people would feel like they were being forced into something they were really not ready to do yet.
Right.
Teresa, if I might put it another way, even if it was 85% that was comfortable and 15% was not, we would be disenfranchising the 15% that were not comfortable from carrying out their elected duties.
Mhm.
And that's not what we would do. That doesn't comply with the Constitution of the nation. And so at this time, I'm getting feedback that there's enough people that are just not comfortable. And if anybody else just is thinking that the 97% is the key number here on that because 97% is vaccinated. First, we don't know who's vaccinated in the meeting. In addition, what I mentioned to Seth the other day is General Powell was vaccinated and he got COVID and
I mean,
passed
Jack, I am
away.
the. I mean, you don't have to convince me. I haven't eaten inside a restaurant yet. So, I mean, I was just saying, there's a way. Believe me.
Well, I guess
I am probably one of the most like cautious people in this town.
Seth, do you need a motion on this?
No, yes,
Vote on it?
but I haven't gotten, Lois to talk about how, because that's part of the deal. Without further ado, I'll recognize Lois Schneider, who had her team out on Sunday, no less, figuring this out. So, go for it. We'll talk about the RTM meeting procedures first, and then how it works with the districts. Go ahead, Lois.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank Mike and Mark for their work, and especially catching Mark after he got off an airplane in Texas, and which is where he is now. So, we talked a lot about how we can do it, and hybrid is not available right now. So it's either in person or virtual. Last year when we did virtual, we ran a single stream of a virtual GoToWebinar like we did, and we went district by district, and each district had its meeting and everyone else could hear it. And the people that were in the last group had to stay on for the whole length of the meeting, because you're never quite sure when it's going to come back and be on. So, and other people can hear what you're saying and things like that. So that is still a possibility if people want to do that. The other thing that we came up with was the idea of starting with the GoToWebinar link, as we always do, as we have gotten used to. And at the end of that meeting, as we used to break off into our district meetings, we would break up into a second link. There'd be on the warning or the agenda for the meeting, here's a link for District 1, District 2, District 3, and we could go to those links and our district would meet on its own. Those meetings were never were never recorded, so we don't need to do that. What we have come up with is, so far we have 3 Zoom licenses of those of us that are on the RTM, and there are 2 licenses that are part of the town. So we just need a couple of more people to be able to do it. Worst case is we do 3 districts and then we set up a half an hour later the other 3 districts. So I'm confident that we can create this environment without people having to listen to other people go through their things. The next part of that is the voting. And Mike, thank you, Mike, went and watched last year's meeting just to double check, and there was no really voting. People would nominate a few people and then somebody would drop out. So we never actually had to vote on who would be district chair, vice chair, district chair, vice chair, clerk, and the rules committee. The suggestion is that if we do need to vote, that we will make sure that whoever's running the Zoom or the GoToMeeting or whatever it is has the ability we can do a poll using Zoom, which we figured out how to do, or we can send a chat message to the district chair or somebody designated to count the votes if we have to vote. And we would follow up, if we go this route, we would follow up with each district can choose how they want to do it themselves. And we can go from there and make sure everybody knows how to do it. Teresa, do you have a question?
I just wanted to let you know that my district last year did have to have a vote on rules. Shannon and I had a contested race for rules where the entire RTM had to listen to us make our spiel, and then our district had to vote on it. So, and it was I will admit, it was kind of awkward.
Yeah, sorry about that. I thought that, anyway, okay.
The preference would be to try to stay away from using the chat box because it's easy to screw up. Better to try and do the polling, which everybody's used to.
Well, we figured out how to do that. We've tested the polling in Zoom. And so what we have are districts 1, 2, and 5 have RTM members that have the license, the paid license for Zoom. So we could use and I'll send out either, I don't know if you want to send out to the rules members or the district chairs to get a couple more in either 3, 4, and we have somebody in 4 that'll run a meeting. So it's really 3 and 6. If somebody has a licensed Zoom account and would like to run the meeting, those are the 2 we need.
And it
I can
can't
ask
be
Edward
the-
Sheka.
Yes.
I can
Who
ask
we got
Edward
here?
Sheka for
It-
District 6.
Yes.
It can't be a
It's-
free license because you can't do voting on the 40-minute license. You have to have one of the $12 a month licenses to be able to do polling. And the one thing that we talked about at the meeting yesterday was, on the polling, when you show the results, everyone will see the percentages of the votes. And talking to people over the last week, I find that there are a lot of different traditions from different districts. Of some took secret ballots and some didn't take secret ballots. But with using the voting on Zoom, when the results are shown, everyone will see the percentages of who got what vote. The other way to do it is chat, where if the district, the chair designated someone to monitor the chat and count up the votes, the results could be given in a confidential manner.
Uh-huh. But if you don't pick the chat menu correctly,
Huh?
you can wind up broadcasting to everybody.
So we thought that we would give each district the choice, assuming that, that all of us that are
right.
doing it are comfortable, and let the district choose which way they want to go, rather than all of us deciding what each district should do, if people are comfortable with that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Patty?
A gentle question or reminder, so we don't have the problem that happened with the ethics issue last year, that we just make sure, as a reminder, you put it in your notes, Seth, that anybody, this is at the RTM meeting, that that's an example where they can get up and speak. And so anybody who is nominated, who wants to run, can speak. It was hard because people were trying to reach out to you and the hands weren't working. So I'm just reminding, so everything can go smoothly.
That one's hand stamped into my brain.
Excellent.
Yes.
You've done a great job. That was just a hard one in the beginning of the season. So after that, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'll take yes, Lois.
Do you want to take a vote on which way people want to go?
Yes, I would like to have a motion, if you would, on conducting both the RTM meeting and the district meeting together, because they're locked together. Or do you want to break them into separates? Okay, all right. Then break them into separate. We'll do the RTM first, okay, RTM meeting.
I'll make a motion that the RTM meeting is done virtually for our big first meeting.
Okay, do we have a second? Great, I've got Ann.
Okay.
All right, are there any ready to vote? Okay, are there any no votes, please? I see none, so the vote is unanimous.
Seth, you need to ask for abstaining, please.
Oh, abstaining, please. Yeah, abstaining. I don't see any abstentions either. Okay, so the motion carries unanimously that we will do a virtual meeting. Now, go ahead with the next motion, Lois.
I make a motion that we, at the end of the group meeting, when we move, I make a motion that the district meetings be run separately, either by Zoom or go to webinar. That the district
The
meetings,
breakout sessions
the
afterwards.
breakout sections by district be done virtually, individually by district.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, that is, this, who was the second on? I didn't, I heard a voice, but I didn't see a person.
Michael,
Michael was the
Michael
second.
Casella.
Well, we've got two Michaels. There we go. I saw Michael.
Can I ask a
Castelo
question on
raise
that?
his hand, so I'll give Michael a shot here. You can go ahead and be the seconder, Michael, on that.
Jack's
All
got a
right,
question.
Is there
Yes.
further discussion?
That's a question,
Yes,
Seth.
excuse
Yes.
me, Jack?
Yeah, Lois, I have a question.
Sure.
So regardless of how they want to do it, wouldn't we need to at least have what the breakout Zoom or GoToMeeting is delivered to the districts as part of the November 8th meeting?
Yes.
You said
Yeah,
that.
right.
Okay, so what they're gonna only decide then is if they're taking a poll, or if everybody's raising their hands or doing
Oh,
chat,
chat.
whatever.
If
Or
you want to
chat,
do it,
okay.
if you need to vote, then the question is, how do you want to vote? You could do it by raising hands, but we never do. That we usually do privately. So it's chat or
Right, okay.
or
Yeah,
poll.
that's what I meant. I meant chat, right.
Yeah, so the announcement of the meeting, we'll have the general link and then a link per district for the follow-on for the district
Okay.
session.
So are we allowing, just to confirm, are you saying then each district will decide once they're in a breakout section, how they want to do it, whether they do it through chat or through a poll? Is that correct?
Yes.
or
Right.
And
or
then
hand.
the person who's running the Zoom needs to be taught how to do the poll,
Absolutely.
dance
Right.
and practice.
Well, the
once-
people that,
Can
yeah,
I-
the people are, the three people that we have now all know how to do polling. It's if we come up with the three additional or two additional licenses, because Cecil's going to do GoToWebinar where they have the voting mechanism.
And there's
But
somebody
we
in-
still need
There's somebody in District
three
5.
Zoom licenses.
There's somebody in District 5 who's agreed to do it, and I'm sure that we can, we'll sit down and talk to that person and make sure they can do it. And so then
Can we also have like a cheat sheet on this that we are
Oh,
sending
you're right.
not
Oh,
only
no.
to everyone, but specifically to the most senior member in each of the districts? So like I know that Tom Moore is the most senior in District 3.
Mhm.
So because they're the ones who initially
The
running this
meeting to
meeting.
start, yep.
Excellent point, Jack, because I think that happened in one of the districts. Was it District 6 or 5, where it went around, since we all heard it, it went around and they weren't sure who the the senior person was. And sometimes, also just to define, it's the senior person, though, who's been in that district the longest. Isn't that correct? Versus just
No,
person on the RTM, because that
No,
was also
the
confusing.
RTM, yeah.
it's on the
District 2, right?
RTM
Remember
because
District 2?
It's seniority based upon membership in the RTM.
Okay.
because some of us have been moved to several districts during our
Yeah.
time in the RTM.
Yeah, I remember that, but it
We-
happened in District 2 to someone and they debated it. And I felt like it was always the person who had been on it longest. It didn't matter if they got switched into a different district. Thank you for confirming that.
And it's continuous service.
Is it
Yeah.
continuing?
Yeah.
Well, we do have
Continuous
all the
service.
names that we
It's
used
still
last
Tom Moore in our
year.
case, but
Mike,
Lois, do you have the list that I gave you last year of who the 6 people were? The District 2 was the confusion with Cheryl because she had left the district and came back, and so was a continuous service. To your point,
But, actually, Mike, we talked about Krista verifying that, but she doesn't really have a record of how long people have been in a district without going back and looking at everything.
last year's committee sheet should have when they were came
Oh, that's
on, even
right.
though
Okay.
even
Yeah.
though I never remember what mine is.
District 1 was Diane, District 2 was Cheryl, District 3 was Tom, District 4 was Frank, District 5 was Mac, and District 6 there was some conversation about whether it was Richard or Bill, and Bill was the one who ended up running the election for district chair.
Thank you.
All right. Good. So any further discussion? All right, ready to vote. Are there any no votes? Any abstentions? I see neither. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Krista, we have a little work to do.
Now we go to, well, we just did the district, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so we covered both the meeting, the RTM meeting and the district. All right, the next thing is then the logistics of the rules organization meeting and how that will run. You have an option here in a way of dealing with this yourselves or waiting until the next rules committee meeting, which will have the newly elected rules people on it. I suppose that the next rules committee could change something that was decided here. I put it in here as a placeholder, but you can decide not to take any action on this and allow the next rules committee to do it, or you can take action and then I know that Lois has done some work on it, so I don't see any harm in at least having Lois report out on what her team developed for this. And we can vote it here, and if the next rules committee decides they want to change it in some way, they can do it. But I don't see any harm exactly in us going ahead and considering this. So Lois, I would recognize you again, and
I think Mike wants to talk. Mike has an example and wants to talk about how we did it last year.
okay, Michael.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. I was just hold on.
Wait a minute.
Where I get? Hold on, I'll find it. Sheets. So this is how we did it last year, and with this is Google Docs. So anyone who has Google Docs could have this document, and changes could be made in real time, and everyone would see it, and then just sent to Krista for when the meeting was over.
Mike, did you enter for those that didn't have Google Docs access?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I went back to look at how we did it and saw that we did this form, and so I knew I still had this form, but I don't remember if other anybody else or the same people were on tonight were on last year. If anybody remembers if they went into Google Docs, let me know.
But I think you did, or you could. Somebody could. Either you could or I could, assuming we're on rules. Enter the data if some district rules member doesn't have access to it. But this is what we looked at when we had the meet. So that all information was in before the meeting, and when we went to the meeting, this is what we looked at, and then this was our board. It was an electronic board as opposed to a physical board.
It certainly allows for each district to report out. Just a little dialogue ahead of time. Yes, Krista.
I just also wanted to mention for the group, if you would be interested in using the Survey Monkey format to inquire of all the members as to their priority and their choices, which would be fed into an Excel document for the Rules Committee then to manipulate and use as you see fit. There's another alternative method of gathering information. That's the direction I was going toward in soliciting the information. As to whether or not you'd like to use that, then I just mentioned that.
And,
We look
and-
toward using it on the ethics, right?
Is Ann Reed trying to speak? But you're on
No,
mute.
I was just dialing. Ann is like, yeah, Ann. But you have to take if you're going to speak, you have to unmute yourself.
I think she's on another call.
Oh, okay. Ann Reed, you want to speak, or you're speaking on another subject somewhere else?
She's talking to
Wanna
somebody
relive?
else.
I think you're right.
Probably telling
Okay.
her kids to do their homework.
Right. All right.
Krista, I thought this worked pretty well last year. We just submitted everything at the time to your previous, whether it was Karen, I can't remember, or Donna, and it worked. And then there were just adjustments made.
Okay, well, I'm gonna use the Survey Monkey and then I'll send it to you guys and you do with it what you want. If you want you Google Docs, that's obviously your discretion. But the
So,
reason
so do the new members, what would we fill out as members and new members in terms of our request for committee assignment?
the survey would be created where you would rank, I mean, I can get a mock to you, but you would rank
No, I was just curious how it will work.
just an email with a link.
Yeah.
Click on the survey. Please indicate your order of preference, your top 4 in order. Something as straightforward as that, with the description of all the
Your top 4 for each committee?
correct. So there would be a list
Yeah,
of all the subcommittees, and you'd indicate 1 through 4, your preference, and then SurveyMonkey would generate Excel, or you could see how many people chose education as their number 1, for example, and slice and dice it. It's just a way in which instead of
well,
sending
the rules members from each district post simply post their decision, what they want, and then the body as a whole, the rules committee as a whole, looks at it and says, all right, that looks okay, or listen, we need to make a change someplace. So they aren't ranked normally. Yeah, Michael, and then you, Lois.
I know in SurveyMonkey you have the ability to write in something, not much, but one of the ways we lose the ability to find out why someone thinks they're more qualified for one committee or another. And I know a lot of decisions have been made by people's professional backgrounds on what committee they were assigned to. Now, I put that as the first, but if you were deciding between A and B, which person brought some strength to that committee?
But doesn't the rules rep for that district?
Has a
Up
copy
to
of each one of the rules has a copy of each one.
wait, yeah, can we take it, go to Lois and then,
We're talking 2 different things. So let's separate.
Correct.
Okay. We started talking about how we would do it in the rules meeting. Okay, and that was what we were talking about. What Chris is talking about is the upfront part of how we gather the information that then goes to the people on rules, which does the second part of the meeting. So my question on that is, the information on that preference sheet has the number of years of service, the email address, this opt out of printed warnings and things like that. Are you anticipating the SurveyMonkey would have all that information and just really duplicate what we have in the preference sheet, Krista?
correct. I'm just trying to get away from paper, scanning, emailing, that whole process.
And then how would you get each of us in our district to get the SurveyMonkeys for only those people in our district?
Well, I would send, it would all go back to rules.
But I only want to see the 16
Okay.
people in my district, as each of us really only
Okay.
want.
Okay, so that's an important point. So
I like to see it all because it helps that's an interesting question. I mean, some people just want to see their own. I often like to see everything. So if I suddenly see wow, do you remember, like Jack, a few years ago when nobody wanted to be on education from District 1? Then I was able to see you had like 4 people who wanted it. And then we were able to talk and figure out if somebody really wanted it there, we would fill in one once we filled one more spot. So that helps, I thought, kind of plan and discuss in advance. That's just my.
But
You know,
Patty, I agree with you.
Yeah.
There was, when Adele and I took over, apparently there was and at that time Dennis was also in District 3 and not on the Board of Ed. But there was an agreement made between District 3 and another district where F&B would take certain number of bodies from one place and District 3 would provide education in the other. On the same token, though, I think that the ultimate decision for the district is done between the 2 rules people. And that's, Krista, I want to just remind you that it's each of the 6 districts that are going to be making the assignment for their districts, plus the input that they get from any of the department chairs. And it's very rare that you're going to bump somebody off who's served on a particular committee for years just because somebody new is there. Now, F&B has had significant turnover in that, but
Yeah, that decision, Jack, is clearly up to rules. However you all want to make your assignments, that is
Okay.
absolutely your discretion. I'm just talking about a way to facilitate the query of what committees do people want to serve.
That's fine.
Really my objective.
let me just say that the instance where the Rules Committee would want to see all of the preference sheets is if there is some sense among the rules members that they wanted to make an adjustment from what the district was recommending. And that situation, you might want to, in that situation, be able to see all of them and then say, oh, well, we think maybe for PZ and H, there ought to be a change in that recommendation. And then you'd want to see the preference sheets. So, that's an instance where you would need them. Lois.
I have a suggestion, Krista. If you want to do one large file with all of these results that we can see, if you can organize them by district. In other words, even if District 6 is the last ones, people can easily find their, you have their district numbers on the top of each page. So I can look at just my district, or if Patty wants to look at all the districts, you can do that. And we're not asking you to shuffle a lot of stuff around.
We could clearly make one of the fillable fields, in addition to name, would be district. So that data point would flow in to the result. So absolutely.
Right.
But are we going to see? Are we going to actually see all these pieces of paper, or are we going to get like an Excel sheet with the columns filled in?
Excel. The paper part is exactly what I'm trying to get away from. Is the
no, I
paper.
know you want to do it in paper, but I meant, was the electronic image going to match the format of the paper, or if we're going to see Excel, sort of like when you see the voting results from GoToWebinar? Is that?
Yes, what I can do perhaps would be best is between now and after the election is to get you all, or perhaps you, Lois, a sample of what it would look like, similar to what we've been doing with the other 2, and to see what the output would look like. But the idea is, and Kate is much more familiar than I with SurveyMonkey, but the ability to see how many people wanted one committee and to sort of see a big picture, Patty, to what you were speaking before, and manipulate it any way you wish. I think that was the beauty and the.
But Krista, understand that the manipulation mostly happens within just a district. So for me,
within your own district, correct?
Okay.
However you want to look at it. That was the benefit of it, is everyone can choose to look at it in the way in which you felt was important for your district or your body as a whole.
But let me just ask a clarifying question. Will each person, if they're in their own district, still be able to see, so for example, in our District 1, we know we're losing at least, X number of people. So there'll be new people coming in. All of the other people you guys all know when we're presenting them, right? And a lot of times they've been on the same committee unless they're asking to switch off to something else. But the 2 newer people, like, I don't think Lois and I just want to say, okay, we're going to stick them here because that's the open spot. We'd want to be able to say, this is their background, this is this, not just that they requested it as 1, 2, 3, and 4, but why. Like, I do like to share the why. I think that's important.
Well, to me, there's room for that.
But I'm not sure there is in what we're getting from Chris if it's just an Excel spreadsheet. That was my question.
The Excel
One of the things that-
webinar does have commentary.
1 second, Mike, you've been,
Well, and one of the things in your cover memo is you could have who the new rules members are for each district, and if anyone in that district wants to change the committee that they're currently on, to notify one of their rules committee members. Because every year we've had, at least in our district, at least 2 people who wanted to switch committees to do something fresh.
But that's what they have when they rank their committees they want to move on to.
Well, you could see that. Yes, you could see that if they moved up the rank, they evidently don't want to stay in the same committee.
Adele?
I think I'd have to see all this before I could really vote on it. I mean, I hate to say it, but I hate to move away from those sheets. I found them very useful. So I really would like to. I would have to see it all and understand it before I would say yay.
If I might add to what Adele was saying, my concern is sometimes when you do, you have to rank 4, that it should allow people to just provide 1. I have, without saying you can't do it, because I can't imagine that Adele is going to list something other than Park and Rec, and I'm not going to list something other than F&B. And
Well, then that's you just tell me how you want this, what information you want. I've been going off of the prior year's letter and the information.
No, that's fine. They can give 4.
Change that? Absolutely. I mean,
They can give 4, but if somebody gives 1, it shouldn't say you have to give another 3. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Right. No,
Okay.
fair. Perhaps up to 4, Jack, is that how you're
But
saying?
let me ask you this question. That I get that for the folks that have been on for a long time, and I appreciate it. And you guys are chairs of your committee, so I appreciate that. But what happens if it's a brand new person and they come on and they're just listing 1? I mean, that's the person who often ends up. The newest person often ends up on a committee they don't want. Or haven't listed, I should say, not don't want, haven't listed because they're listing 4 other ones, but those are already filled by existing members in that district. So
that's where rules, who's ever in charge of that district, rules have to contact that person and said, you only gave me 1, I need a second or a third. But there's enough people that I know on at least the committee that I'm on, that are going to be returning to the committee that I'm on. And, it's a good team. We're already losing 3 people. 2 have resigned and 1 is no longer here. So, I'm anticipating that most people are just going to put down F&B, or I know in Park and Rec, people are going to put down Park and Rec. And that's it. And, they've been good committee members and probably going to return to that committee.
Okay, but it's address the brand new for 1 person. So, I mean, I think we're beating this to a dead horse.
Yeah, let's get to a decision here. So, am I hearing that excuse me, Patty, am I hearing here that we want to keep the preference sheets? You could PDF them, I guess. Scan them and PDF them. But is that what I'm hearing? Or are we, the survey monkey is proposed would be just a straight up computer form that you would fill out, but would not have any of the descriptive thoughts of the people making the selections as to why they were picking.
Why don't you do a hybrid? Why don't you offer both, and it allows a test period of some sort with a portion of people who want to submit their information that way, and then you can make this a hybrid year. But because
I would-
I can foresee Krista being able to get all the information we need with the comment section. I can see it, but I can understand why others need to see it in action first. So offer both ways and test it out.
All right, that's a possibility. Any other thoughts?
My thought was that we could give Krista a test shot and,
Yes.
you know, and then take a look at what the sample is that Krista presents to us. We could do it. She could create a sample survey. We could fill it out for ourselves. Krista, so we'd have, you know, say 6 of us do it. Then we could get the results from that 6. We could take a look and then each of us email back to either you, Seth, or Krista, or however you want to do it, and vote. Which way do you want to do it? I don't know how people feel about that, but that would be a way to do it.
I would,
Well, I think that Krista's trying to
That's
figure
great.
out a way to simplify the game, but I think there's a certain amount of I think there's you know, I think there's some desire to keep the old system, or at least to be able to have it as a.
You went on mute, Seth. There.
Yeah, I'm here. I had I have some senior members of my child group like to call about now. So of course.
That's nice.
Thank you very much. Anyway.
Should we hear what Krista has to say about doing the
Yes,
sample?
please,
I
Krista.
would encourage that.
Yeah, I would love to be able to offer to this body a sample and see how it works. I think it's important, Seth, to know that comments are very important. Or also, this is the opportunity for rules. Many of you have been doing this for many years. Is there any information that you hadn't been getting in past years that you felt was important in your deliberations that we should be including this time around? I mean, this is the time to be making these changes. So that's the other thing I need to know from you, Seth. What does your body need to make sure you've got the information? Patty, you bring up a good point. You'd like to know, or whomever it was, about professional background, however you want it phrased. Please give examples as to why your first choice is.
That's there. It's on the sheet.
That's there, yeah. So I think we're getting the data. It's the worry that when we move to a computer to SurveyMonkey, that we would lose some of the data that we collect now. So, all right. So I guess why don't we? I guess it's just are we thinking that there's a possibility, Krista, to be able to create a hybrid, or are we thinking it's a test first, just try it and see what we get, and then go back if we want to make a change, we could do that before the meeting?
Well, one, this is your decision to make, clearly. So just prefacing that. And I appreciate Shannon's comments, because often to roll something out, I'm concerned if you had 50 pieces of paper emailed to you and then a spreadsheet, would you be able to manipulate that? That's this body or the newly constituted rules body's decision. Can you work with both? So that's really your call. I'll work with either way.
Well, the need for the sheets is really for the additional amount of information that may be required at some point when the body as a whole is going to make a decision, or at least has some significant questions about the assignments that were chosen by a given district.
Okay, so Seth, it sounds like it's not the paper, it's that piece of information. So if the survey contained that information, would that work? I just wonder, what is the focus? What do we need to have versus paper, non-paper?
It seems to me that you need the information that's on the paper now. Because that's been parsed. That piece of paper has been edited a few times. So it's pretty precise in what it's presenting. And if it doesn't have it, then the district can pick up the phone and call somebody and say, hey, this is where we are, which happens. and say, look, this is where we are. You're not going to get 1 or 2. You look like you're at 3. You put 3 down. What do you think? Lois?
I'm going to just make a motion that Krista creates a sample, sends it to us. We give feedback to Krista and Seth, and between Krista and Seth, they decide what we should do. Would that
I
work?
would
Can I-
second that.
Can I make a
am I,
suggestion,
is
though?
my microphone not working? I've been
Well,
trying to speak for a while.
did you make that motion, Lois?
Michael's trying to get recognized, I think.
Thank you,
Is that
Mike.
who-
I've been trying. to
Oh,
speak
there
for-
he is. There he is. Yeah, sorry, Michael.
Thank you.
This would be Michael Castello.
Thank you, Seth. I am happy. I agree with Lois's motion. I'm not sure. I want to think about whether I'd want to amend it to have leaving it the final decision to Seth and Krista. I think we should make an effort, assuming there's not a problem with the survey, that we can get all the data in it, which I'm hearing from Krista we can. I would be a fan of moving to the survey process. Unless, again, we can't get all the information in it that we want, and if we feel there's any other issue with it once we see the sample. But I'm not sure if, I guess I feel strongly that we should make an effort to do it that way and eliminate the paper.
I agree.
Okay.
Can I
yes,
ask
Jack?
something? I just want to be clear. So part of what the sample is, and part of what I thought we might do, is if Krista can put the sample together, send it to the 12 of us, we fill it out as if we were the people, and then we see it coming back. I just want to make sure that's my understanding of what this sample will be. Is that a
I agree
correct
with that,
understanding?
All right. So do you want to incorporate that, Lois, into your motion?
Sure. Krista will create a sample survey and send it to the Rules Committee members. We will fill it out. She will summarize the report as if this was the real thing, send it back to the Rules members, because then we become Rules members, not just RTM members filling out the survey. And then we will provide our feedback to the 2 of you, and hopefully it'll be obvious that we're on the same team. But if it gets to be a touch and go, rather than having a long debate, Krista and Seth can make the decision.
Oh, lovely. Having been in the clerk's position myself from time to time on this body, I'll ask Patty if she got that verbatim or.
I wrote quite a bit down, and I'll be watching it again as soon as it's online tomorrow morning.
All right, I'll make it simpler. I'm moving that we do a sample, what Krista will be in charge of, working with us as working with the current Rules Committee members. We will provide our feedback to decide whether or not it should go forward. And if there's a difficult decision, Seth and Krista will make it.
But I don't know that that's necessary.
Okay.
If there's a difficult decision. I think that once we get it, then if somebody's not happy with it, you say, I'm not happy with it. And when you count up the 12 current members, if 7 or more say they're happy with it, then that's the way we go.
Okay.
I mean, why put Krista and Seth on the spot?
So now we should have
We amended it.
an unwarned vote. That will be the end of whatever career I might have
It's
had.
a survey. It's a monkey survey.
Thank you.
I am allowed to, I understand from town council that I am allowed to collect opinion. So that would be collecting opinion in spades, and that's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm ruling. Okay, so Lois, are we?
All right, so we'll take out that last part. That should be, the Rules Committee should respond to the final package and express whether or not they find that satisfactory for going forward.
Do I have a second on that motion? Ann Reed, thank you for that quick hand, Ann. I think we were desperate.
One last question, Seth. And the question is that we're going to get a survey. We're going to fill out a survey. We're going to send it back to Krista. Krista's going to do whatever it is she would do, like for everybody, let's say, and then that's going to come back to us. So we're going to be able to see what it looks like. And then we're going to give you our feedback as to whether we like it or we don't.
Yes.
Okay,
That's my understanding.
thank
Well,
you.
it's
I
also
think-
a two-step process.
Did you get all that, Patty?
You'll get
I'm looking at Kristen. She's about to respond.
right. Sort of to Adele's point,
Right.
I would like to see feedback on both steps. The survey itself,
Okay.
and then the output. Those are the two components which are important. Is the survey itself helpful? Is it getting all the information? And then the output. Does it work with how rules will then use that data or the district to make your final committee? So I look at it as two pieces sort of a feedback, if that's okay.
Okay, so.
And I'd say,
it's,
sorry, that's one point.
Yes. Go ahead.
It can't just be, no, I don't like it. It has to be the why, because the why may be fixable. If it's yes, this meets my needs, that's clear, but it can't, if it's no, it has to be why.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. All right. Are we ready to vote here? All right. Are there any no votes, please? Abstentions? I see none of either. Motion carries unanimously. All right. Next piece is we have two right now Board of Ethics vacancies. I guess conceivably we might have one more, Krista, later after the election.
As the current makeup, that's how I understand it, yes.
Yeah, but for now it's two. And using SurveyMonkey as a way to get nominees. Is that correct,
That's
Krista? Yes?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so we'll send a SurveyMonkey out to everybody, and then hopefully we will get some nominees. Good.
Beth,
Um,
can I ask who is stepping down?
Well, the 2 terms expired, right?
Okay, but
Jim-
does that mean that they're looking to re-up? The way you said it, it sounded as if they were not re-upping.
We don't know. We haven't put out the request yet.
Yeah.
That's what so it's not as if
They
the
could, yeah,
current members have said no, we just haven't asked them.
right.
Okay,
And they go in with any other nominees, theoretically, any other nominees that appear, right? Okay, so that's more to just introduce the idea of using SurveyMonkey, which seems to work. I don't know if it requires a vote. If somebody would like to make a motion that we use SurveyMonkey for the Board of Ethics vacancies, they can, but
Can I just
know.
ask a question of Krista?
Yes,
So I love
Patty.
SurveyMonkey. So I think I love that you're bringing this into this to make it a more efficient component. Kind of like I love how we introduced polling, after
it's
several
all
months
Krista's
of
fault.
struggling. My question is, so you're going to send out a SurveyMonkey to all 100 people on the RTM, is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
So are we
Hoping
concerned?
for 100 people after November 2nd, but it'll go out to all the other people.
Do we have any, I guess I'm just asking, do we have any concern about anyone not knowing how to do it? And so then, in fact, we should add a little cheat sheet on that as well. I mean, most of us have done it over the years, but there's some that might not. So
That's a fair question. I think it's also important, and it will state that nominations are always open from the floor.
Mhm.
So if anyone ever had any issue, and I think that will be an important point to raise during the meeting, but we clearly want, I mean, I don't want to speak for you all, but you want to have everyone's voice heard. So this is one way in which to reach everyone. They can just click on a link, click, yes, I would like to nominate somebody or myself, put their name in, We've referenced, where they can find in the town code to learn more about the Board of Ethics, and then clearly nominations from the floor. It's just-
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
Okay, Patty, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So I just want to remind myself, as I get older, I forget things. So we have 5 people on ethics, correct?
right.
We have 2 people whose terms are not expiring. We should know who they are, and it's very important that we also know what their political affiliation is. This is the one place in the RTM where
Mhm.
political affiliation is important, because the ethics board has to be, I don't know what the split is, 4-1, 3-2, whatever it is, but there is minority representation. So it's important that we mention that so that people do, and you counts as whatever they wanted to count. But I think that that's also important that we have that on there.
Well,
Yes,
it's,
it's always gone out, the
the
communication.
mix is unknowable, really. I mean, you're sending out, you're looking for nominees, but you can't tell people who are going to nominate, by the way, check them out to see if they're Republicans or Democrats, because you don't know, it may work out fine. It's, until
But we
they
need to
come
know, you can't end up with, as an example, only because Republicans are the primary party in this town.
in,
If
not on the
we,
Board of Ethics.
well,
Yeah,
that's
it's
what I'm trying to say. You couldn't end up with just all R's being the nominees and having, and the people staying are both R's. So that's why it's important that somebody has to identify whether or not they're an R, U.
Yeah, any nominee that we
Or-
put up we have to know what party it is, for sure.
That's correct. That's all I was trying to say.
Yep.
I have a question, Seth. Seth, I have a
Yeah.
question on both
Yeah, Michael.
that. When we send the Survey Monkey out with the nominees to vote on the nominees, so we have the nominees in, and now we vote, and the vote is through
No.
Krista's.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
these are just nominees. We're just sending the Survey Monkey out to get the nominees
Instead of the paperwork that they used
instead
to
of the
send.
paper.
The vote is in the meeting.
Thank you.
Well, the vote is
Yep,
during the
thank-
meeting.
My question was,
And
it's same
everybody
question though.
everybody gets to
In
give
the-
a speech for 3 minutes.
Yeah, I guess 2
prior
minutes.
to
Michael,
vote.
again,
It still applies. It's the same principle, but yes, I stand corrected. It's the polling in the meeting, not the Survey Monkey for the voting. My question is, when we list the names of people that are being to choose to vote, the candidates, will it show which ones are incumbent, which ones would be returning to a seat on there?
there wouldn't, they're not up for reelection, so it's just you're voting for X number of seats.
No, for people that whose terms
now.
expired. So yes, they'll say that in their 2-minute speech. They give a 2-minute, everybody gives a 2-minute speech.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I gave him an extra minute. Sorry, Lois. I said 3.
That's up to Seth. I cede on that one.
Okay,
All right, so I think we've got that worked out. Do we need a vote on that? I think it's just an administrative discussion more than anything else. That sort of goes through discussion. Now, we want to move on to voting the agenda for the November 8th meeting. That consists of a call to order, and then we do a roll call. And this is more of a reminder that we wind up roll calling every person there, every name, and so that we know who's in the meeting, and then we swear in the newly elected members. So Krista does the swearing in. And of course, Krista has that all figured out now, right, Krista? She wasn't sure if she could swear somebody in. Well, I don't know if we have an answer. If you can't see them, can you still swear them in?
I'm waiting to hear back from town council for confirmation, but I'm already in touch with Wayne on that.
Okay. I think we're all right. Because I
Can I
think we
just
did it last year.
confirm?
Yeah,
My question is, are we going to do it the same way we've always done it? So Krista, if we were sitting in the meetings, as you recall from when you were on the RTM, you did it by district. So for example, Lois and my district started first because we were one, and then you did it alphabetically by the last name. So that's what I want to know. Are we doing it alphabetically by the last name versus the first?
I have no opinion. However you all feel is the best way to run that. You know, when they come to the auditorium, I do it's everybody in one felt swoop. So however you all want to have that happen, I'll make it happen.
I would do by district last name. Because it's the way we've always done it and people are used to it.
Great.
Then after that, we do the election of the moderator. Then we do acceptance of the agenda, announcements, approval of the minutes of October 18. And then there is an orientation conducted by the town clerk that just talks about the roles, RTM members, standing committees, freedom of information. And we do have a packet that's read off of. I think I don't think Krista has to reinvent the wheel on this one.
Would you like it handled the same way it was always done?
Correct.
This information will be emailed out to all members, if that's okay,
Yeah, sure.
as opposed to reprinting the appendix and mailing it.
No, that's all right. We've avoided doing that. Okay. It's mostly just reviewing the basics so that it's on the record and it's on the floor and everybody can hear it, public can hear it, everybody understands how it's done. Then we'll do the election, 2 members of the Board of Ethics, and then cover the vehicle donation, have the 2 committees report, and have the vote on that, and then do the district breakout and go into the elections of the chair, vice chair, members of the Rules Committee for each district. And then that will go back to Krista. So she has it on record.
No, do we adjourn, Lois, don't we adjourn the first meeting and then go into the 6 individual meetings? And we didn't have any plan where we went back.
Yes, well, yeah, we do this, you know, call a meeting. We adjourn the meeting for a purpose, to go to district meetings.
Okay.
And it is the districts, after they make their decisions, we used to have to chase people, but we always made sure that nobody walked out of there without having turned in the results of the election, because it has a direct bearing on the next on the Rules Committee meeting the following Monday.
Lois and I will make sure that's on the checklist for the people who are running the meetings, that the results have to be, to remind them that the results have to be sent to Krista.
Yeah.
I have a
Can
question.
I also, pardon me for a second,
Lois,
we can't
I'll
fully
do
the-
Lois first and then Jack. Just Lois
Okay.
had her hand
My
up.
question is, when do we need all the links that have to go out to each of the, the extra links on the page that go to each district? Because Mike and I need to make sure we get the people assigned by that day. We have a long time before we have to do this. The meeting's not for a while, but I just need to know the timing, because sometimes there are 10-day windows and 2-day windows and things like that. So I need a target. I'll need to know when we have to give you those links.
Okay. Because you were, Krista, you all set? Are you on that?
Okay, Lois, we'll be in touch when we'll get this all out.
Okay, Jack?
I want to make sure that we're very clear. We have the meeting on the 8th. We do not break into district meetings. We break into district caucuses.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's very important that we distinguish the two. Caucuses do not need to be recorded. Meetings do.
Okay.
So let's at least make sure we're using the appropriate terminology. I'm sorry to be a bother on.
No, that's
No,
great.
that's,
Yeah,
That
that's
was a good point.
good. Okay, district caucuses, got it. Any other thoughts? We did vote correctly to assign PCNH as primary and FMP as
Public
secondary.
health
right?
and safety.
Yeah,
Public health and safety.
public health and safety, I meant that, yes. Okay,
Oh.
they're 1 and 2, okay. So we covered that, I believe. I just want to double check. Great, all right. Can I have a motion in favor of, for the agenda?
Says Seth, Chris is raising her hand.
Yes, Krista.
And
Just want
bye.
to clarify that when you mentioned election of a moderator, the idea, as in the past, a letter had gone out for nominees for moderator. That would also be done via SurveyMonkey with nominees from the floor.
Right. Okay. Yep. Great. All right.
And,
Are
and
any further discussion on the agenda?
just want to just
Yes.
validate who, there's an election, quote unquote, committee or something. That's Lois, right? So
The
Lois,
nominating committee.
well, yeah, committee of one.
He's the nominator.
So, but
I
you're
start the
going,
I start the meeting.
that's, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. That's what I
Thank you.
thought. Okay, thank you.
It's the vice chair of the rules committee is the one who's the nominating committee.
Right.
Can you just tell me for the minutes when you're going to have the moderator? The call for moderator, will that come?
That's after the swearing in of the newly elected members. Because then you have the new RTM voting.
Were you asking when the
That's the order.
SurveyMonkey was going to go out asking for nominees for moderator?
No, that's not what I was asking.
It's the second item on the agenda.
It's remaining the second item on the agenda. It's right away. That's why I wanted to make sure it was right away. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Great. So we ready to vote the agenda? All right. Are there any no votes? I see none. Any abstentions? Okay, I see none. It's unanimous. Motion carries. Agenda is set. Unless anybody's got some other business, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I do
there's
have
Ann. Quick, a second.
Oh, Lois had something
a
first.
question. I have a question.
Oh,
Sorry.
I tried to. I was almost there. Go ahead, Lois.
Did you want to talk about how we were going to do the committee meetings, or will we do that in the first rule? I guess they're caucuses for the committees to do their elections. It's the November, the organizational meeting. We're going to do that when we have the rules meeting. We'll talk about how we want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You see, I don't understand, pardon me, I don't understand how we're going to first decide, or the new rules committee is going to first decide how they're going to do committee assignments on the day that they're doing assignments.
We decided how we were going to do that. We
Yeah.
already did that.
Okay, so we're going to still do the way that we did. We're going to
That's good.
have the SurveyMonkey provide us with the information. We're still going to provide it back with the spreadsheets and that. And then, so that, I just want to make sure that's what we've decided is going to happen at the organization meeting afterwards.
Right.
Okay, all right.
I mean, we're deciding on behalf of the next rules committee, and if they want to get into this, be my guest. No, anyway, I think we've done a pretty good job here. We've in a sense set it up for them. All right, other business? I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Ann, second, please. Joe Michelli,
Oh,
all right. Are there any noes? Are there any abstentions? I see none of either. It's unanimous. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Patty.